The Grand Bazaar, meaning covered market, also Büyük meaning grand market, in Istanbul is one of the largest and oldest covered markets in the world, with 61 covered streets and over 4,000 shops on a total area of 30,700 meters, attracting between 250,000 and 400,000 visitors daily. In 2014, it was listed number 1 among the world's most visited tourist attractions with 91,250,000 annual visitors. The Grand Bazaar at Istanbul is often regarded as one of the first shopping malls of the world. The Grand Bazaar is located inside the walled city of Istanbul, in the district of Fatih and in the neighborhood, Mahalle, bearing the same name, Kapalsars. It stretches roughly from west to east between the mosques of Bayezid and of Nuri Osmaniye. The bazaar can easily be reached from Sultanahmet and Sirkeci by trams, Beyaz Kapalsars stop. The construction of the future Grand Bazaar's core started during the winter of 1455-56. Shortly after the Ottoman conquest of Constantinople, and was part of a broader initiative to stimulate economic prosperity in Istanbul. Sultan Mehmed II had an edifice erected devoted to the trading of textiles and jewels near his palace in Constantinople. It was named Savar Bedesten, Bedesten of Gems, and was also known as Bezistan Sadid, New Bedesten, in Ottoman Turkish. The word Bedesten is adapted from the Persian word Bestan, derived from bez, cloth, and means bazaar of the cloth sellers. The building, named alternately in Turkish, is internal, antique, ancient, or eski, old. Bedesten lies on the slope of the third hill of Istanbul, between the ancient fora of Constantine and of Theodosius. It was also near the first Sultan's palace, the Old Palace, Eski Saray, which was also in construction in those same years, and not far from the Artopolia, in Greek, Rho Tau Omicron Pi Omega Lambda Epsilon Alpha, the city's baker's quarter in Byzantine times. The construction of the Bedesten ended in the winter of 1460-61, and the building was endowed to the Waqf of the Hagia Sophia Mosque. Analysis of the brickwork shows that most of the structure originates from the second half of the 15th century, although a Byzantine relief representing a Komnenian eagle, still enclosed on the top of the east gate, peduncular caps, of the Bedesten has been used by several scholars as proof that the edifice was a Byzantine structure. In a market near the Bedesten Bazaar, the slave trade was active, a use also carried over from Byzantine times. Other important markets in the vicinity were the second-hand market, Turkish, Bit Pazar, the Long Market, Uzun Sars, corresponding to the Greek Makros and Bolos, the Alpha Kappa Rho Sigma Mu Beta Omicron Lambda Omicron Sigma, Long Portico, a long porticoed mall stretching downhill from the Forum of Constantine to the Golden Horn, which was one of the main market areas of the city, while the Old Book Market, Sahaflar Sars, was moved from the bazaar to the present picturesque location near the Bayezid Mosque only after the 1894 Istanbul earthquake. Some years later, according to other sources, this occurred in 1545 under Sultan Suleiman I. Mehmed II had another covered market built, the Sandal Bedesten. The name comes from a kind of thread woven in Bursa, which had the color of sandalwood, also named Kusuk, little, Jadid or Yeni, both words meaning new, Bedesten, which lay north of the first. After the erection of the Sandal Bedesten, the trade in textiles moved there, while the Savar Bedesten was reserved for the trade in luxury goods. At the beginning the two buildings were isolated. According to the 16th century French traveler Pierre Gilles, between them and the Mosque of Bayezid stood the ruins of churches and a large cistern. However, soon many sellers opened their shops between and around them, so that a whole quarter was born, devoted exclusively to commerce. At the beginning of the 17th century, the Grand Bazaar had already achieved its final shape. The enormous extent of the Ottoman Empire in 3 continents, and the total control of road communications between Asia and Europe, rendered the bazaar and the surrounding Hans or caravanserais the hub of the Mediterranean trade. According to several European travelers, at that time, and until the first half of the 19th century, the market was unrivaled in Europe with regards to the abundance, variety and quality of the goods on sale. At that time we know from European travelers that the Grand Bazaar had a square plan, with 2 perpendicular main roads crossing in the middle and a third road running along the outer perimeter. In the bazaar there were 67 roads, each bearing the name of the sellers of a particular good, several squares used for the daily prayers, 5 mosques, 7 fountains, 18 gates which were opened each day in the morning and closed in the evening. From these comes the modern name of the market, Closed Market, Kapalsars. Around 1638 the Turkish traveler Evliya Çelebi gave us the most important historical description of the bazaar and of its customs. The number of shops amounted to 3,000, plus 300 located in the surrounding Hans, large caravanserais with 2 or 3 stories round a porticoed inner courtyard, where goods could be stored and merchants could be lodged. In that period 1/10 of the shops of the city were concentrated in the market and around it. For all that, at the yet covered. Recurrent calamities, fires and earthquakes hit the Grand Bazaar. The first fire occurred in 1515, another in 1548. Other fires ravaged the complex in 1588, 1618, when the Bit Bazaar was destroyed, 1645, 1652, 1658, 1660. On that occasion the whole city was devastated. 1687, 1688. Great damage occurred to the Uzun Sars, 1695, and 1701. The fire of 1701 was particularly fierce, forcing Grand Vizier Nefserli Damand Ibrahim Pasha to rebuild several parts of the complex in 1730 to 1731. In 1738 Iksler Aga's Basir Aga endowed the fountain, still existing, near Merkan Cap. In this period, because of the new law against fires issued in 1696, several parts of the market which lay between the two Bedesin were covered with faults. Despite that, other fires ravaged the complex in 1750 and 1791. The quake of 1766 caused more damages, which were repaired by the court chief architect, Hassabas Mimar, Ahmed a year later. The 19th century growth of the textile industry in Western Europe, introduction of mass production methods, the capitulation signed between the empire and many European countries, and the forestalling, always by European merchants, of the raw materials needed to produce goods in the empire's closed economy, were factors which caused the market's decline. By 1850, rents in Bedesin were 10 times lower than 2 to 3 decades before. Moreover, the birth of a West-oriented bourgeoisie and the commercial success of Western products pushed the merchants belonging to the minorities, Greek, Armenian, Jewish, into moving out of the bazaar, perceived as antiquated, and into opening new shops in quarters frequented by Europeans, such as Pera and Galata. According to an 1890 survey, in the bazaar there were 4,399 active shops, 2 Bedesin, 2,195 rooms, 1 hammam, 1 mosque, 10 medres, 19 fountains, among them 2 Sodervan and 1 Sabul, 1 mausoleum and 24 han. In the 30.7 hectares of the complex, protected by 18 gates, there are 3,000 shops along 61 streets, the 2 Bedesin, 13 han, plus several more outside. The last major catastrophe happened in 1894, a strong earthquake that rocked Istanbul. The Minister of Public Works, Mahmud Jalaluddin Pasha, supervised the repair of the damaged bazaar until 1898, and on this occasion the complex was reduced in area. To the west, the Bit Bazaar was left outside the new perimeter and became an open sky road, named Sadarklar Jadisi, Tent Maker Road, while the old gate and the Kutkular copy were demolished. Among all the Hans which belonged to the market, many were left outside, and only 9 remained enclosed in the structure. In 1914 the Sandal Bedesin, whose handlers of textile goods had been ruined by the European competition, was acquired by the city of Istanbul and, starting 1 year later, was used as an auction house, mainly for carpets. In 1927 the individual parts of the bazaar and the streets got official names.